Dude, so I beat Silent Hill 2, and it was a pretty easy experience. For 2 reasons. 1, I picked beginner difficulty as well as the easy puzzle mode, and 2, I know a little bit about the speedrun. I got a little interested in it not too long ago, and I had checked it out a bit, so I at least remember the playthroughs of the game quite often since I've seen the speedrun. So I know a little bit about the game, and it's not that long of an experience, so I thought, you know what? Let's play this. This is great. Also, the remake was just announced not long ago, so it's kind of cool. I was like, yeah, this is a great game to play. Let's play Silent Hill 2. But this video would be fucking boring if I just sat through and told you everything I did in the game, because this game is about 90% collecting keys, and this, again, is beginner mode, so there's not a lot of fighting. I fight bosses, and that's pretty much it. All the other enemies can be run past very easily because they don't swing very hard, and I have a lot of healing if I do get hit, so it never matters. And the puzzles are pretty easy, so I figured them out very quickly. I'll go over a few of the puzzles, but in the end, we're just gonna look at like the story elements kind of quickly, but there's just no way I'm gonna walk you through something like Grand Theft Auto 3 made sense. You had to see each mission and how I completed the mission. It was kind of fun because that game has a lot of variety in it. This is not a game that has a lot of variety in it, and that's not a bad thing. That's just, this experience is way different. So I'll spare everyone the boring details of got this key to get this key to get this key to get to the next key. So in Silent Hill 2, we play as James, who has come to this town called Silent Hill in search of his wife, who he knows has been dead for 3 years, and decides, well, no, she might be alive. I just got a letter from her. Well, it's not the entire letter. You don't actually get to see all of it. So he's just under the assumption that he's here to see his wife, who died 3 years ago. I don't know how. So let's go on. We meet this woman named Angela, who's just kind of hovering around some gravestones in a cemetery, and she points you in the direction of Silent Hill and says, hey, be careful, it's dangerous there. But James doesn't give a shit about his own life. It's actually about 20 minutes of walking through Silent Hill. Very quiet, very foggy, and there's not a lot to do, but you do find some blood on the ground, and that seems promising. So let's follow that to our first enemy. Easy to beat, beginner mode, blah. Let's go ahead and keep going. We eventually arrive at some pristine apartment buildings. Buildings I would love to live in myself. Look how beautiful they are. But James ends up trying to grab a key on the other side of this gate, and some little girl comes running up, kicks it out of the way, laughs, and leaves. F you. James is freaked out because of all the hellish creatures here, but for some reason he refuses to leave. In fact, all the people who are in Silent Hill refuse to leave. There's these crazy looking monsters. I would just leave. The first puzzle is when you open this clock and you have to move the hands to the time 9:10, and it can just be anywhere, I guess, but 9:10 is always the answer. Soon after, we find out that James is into voyeurism and watches Pyramid Head do things to other mannequin type enemies. But whatever, right afterwards he's back on his feet searching for some coins for the next puzzle, and then he meets this dude called Eddie, who is very weird. He's throwing up in a nasty ass toilet, and he was scared of the monsters. Oddly enough, he actually is scared of the monsters, but he still won't actually get up and leave. This town is something different. I mean, obviously it's a metaphor. Let's just be upfront right away. It's a metaphor. We meet Angela again in this weird room with a large mirror, probably like, I'm not really sure what this mirror is for, but she's cuddling with a knife, which seems pretty normal, you know. James does say this.
No, I'm not like you.
Yeah, James. There's no denial here. After we somehow get the knife away from her, the next puzzle involves some coins that go into this little vanity, and it's a cool puzzle, but on beginner, it's very simple. It's only a few lines, and it's pretty easy to find out. Plus, there's only several spots that these things can go, so I guess you could probably brute force it. But the harder difficulties, I know, have like longer riddles that will help you figure out where the coins go, which is pretty cool. And the most difficult mode for puzzles has a pretty complex riddle to figure out. So at that point, it almost feels like brute forcing is a better idea. Oh, look, it's Pyramid Head. I hope he doesn't fucking chop my ass in half. After I come back and actually beat Pyramid Head, we finally get to meet the little girl who's been out here messing around kicking keys, and her name is Laura, and she's just like name drops his dead wife Mary, and it's like, oh, there's a thread, follow it. But you know, she's running and she's fast, and she's 8 and she's fast in Silent Hill. I don't know, she's not scared? I don't understand. Finally, we meet another person. Her name is Maria, not Mary, which is super close, and I feel like it's pretty obvious, but she's the spitting image of his wife, but with a different personality, and she seems, well, maybe it's a different personality. I don't know. James is a little confused in Silent Hill. Anyway, she helps you track down this little girl, and you end up tracking her down to a bowling alley where Eddie is eating pizza? Is it fresh? I don't understand, but he's scarfing that shit down. He's scarfing it so fast that it's very slow. I don't understand why he's eaten one piece of pizza for the longest time. But him and Laura are talking, and Laura calls him this. Damn. So you still have to chase the girl, but she's super fast again, and adults just cannot catch her. As we're chasing Laura, we find these pieces of paper with some very interesting mumbo jumbo about unreality written on it. And that'll be at the end. I'll talk a little bit about how I feel about the story. So for now, we'll just remember it, but we'll keep going. We find ourselves in this very interesting looking building where Maria decides she's just going to go ahead and curl up on this gross, nasty cot in a random room and wait for James to do whatever it is he's going to do, which involves finding a couple sets of codes to 2 different little locks, seeing Pyramid Head and having him shove you off the roof into another part of the building where you then have to kind of escape. At one point, you attach some hair you find in this lockbox that took a bunch of things to unlock and attach it to a hook to reach down in a drain. This game is very interesting. They have you do a lot of very interesting things, and I'm sure some of these things actually have some kind of story value to them, but I just don't have enough time to go in depth about it. So right now it seems really weird. We find Laura in a random room playing with these little teddy bears, and she says that she has a letter from Mary, and she doesn't like the way that our character is treating her, so she really just tricks us and shoves us into a room that she locks, where there's this weird, it's like a boss battle, I think, where these 3 weird corpses that are on these small cages come down from the ceiling in very odd looking spots, like the ceiling doesn't connect, I don't know, but they come down and they're 1 shotgun blast for me, and that's pretty much about it. We eventually meet up with Maria again, and she freaks out. She's like, how dare you leave me back there? He's like, dude, you told me to leave you on a cot. And then Pyramid Head blew me through the fucking roof, man. I don't know what you want me to do, but I was trying to find my way back. So here we are. And she does lose her mind. She's like, she knows that his weak spot is Mary, and she's being weird, and no one really knows why yet because we aren't that far into the story. But she does say, we need to go find Laura because she's a little girl, and how dare she be in this world with monsters and no one's helping her. On our way, I don't actually interact with this puzzle, but there is in the elevator suddenly a game show over the radio that talks to us and asks us 3 questions, and we're supposed to know them. They're all about Silent Hill, and we're supposed to go into this room and probably do the puzzle, but I didn't necessarily need to do it, so I just left. I didn't do it. But it's really weird that you ride this elevator and listen to this long ass game show talking directly to you, and then the characters at the end are like, Pyramid rears his ugly thing on his head because we can't actually see his face. He doesn't have a face. But then he chases us down this hallway. I didn't actually realize he was chasing us right away. I had the volume down a little bit because my daughter was sleeping in this little sleeper here, and I didn't hear it. But suddenly I realized, I was like, oh yeah, hey, isn't this that part where Maria gets murdered by a Pyramid Head? And I was right at the very end. I realized, oh yeah, she didn't run fast enough. James is eventually sent around Silent Hill itself, out in the town rather than inside of a building, to find these things to eventually get to another place like the Silent Hill Historical Society, and those are just places that you're going to find things you need, and we eventually get there, but before he does, he thinks that Mary is sending him on this weird wild goose chase. He's still not sure if she's alive, and he keeps getting directed, so he's assuming that it's her sending these places, which is important for the story. Now look, this next part is not that impossible. You have a map of where you're going and kind of marks where you are, but goddamn, you have to run all over town. And again, I'm not fighting anything, so it's just boring. I'm just running around town. It's town walking simulator, key finding simulator. I might as well just have a huge ass key ring with all of them. I want to see James whipping it around cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching. We forcibly make James jump down into these scary ass holes where when he lands, it hurts him. I don't understand why he keeps jumping down random holes, and he'll do this a lot more. But the next puzzle is a little room that you get stuck inside of. You need to pull a battery out that you've picked up, put it in the socket, and then you're able to activate the room. The room has just a keypad, and there's 3 keys on the keypad that are brighter, almost as if dust is brushed off of them. So you know those are the 3 keys that include the passcode. It's just a random version of those 3 keys. So it's not hard to figure out. You just brute force it. Like I said, just keep trying the passcodes until you find them. I think there's only 6 variations, so it only takes a couple minutes. We see Eddie again, and this time he is completely off his rocker, but so is everyone else, so I guess this is not news. But Eddie has a gun, and he's killed someone, which looks like it might just be a monster or something. There's not that many people here anyway. This place is a metaphor if you didn't realize. But Eddie has killed this person, or at least he says he has, and we find out from Eddie that he is upset because people have been making fun of him and walking all over him all of his life, and you find out that at one point he killed a dog and shot the owner of the dog in the knee, which I think was someone on a football team because he said he couldn't play football or something like that. So Eddie is clearly insane, but also Angela, and Maria was when she was alive. So this town brings in people who I think have done bad things, maybe even feel guilty of doing bad things. The next set of things we do is walk around a lot, find some stuff like these tablets that you put into this little pedestal. There's no special order, you just put them in there. And then you need to find these 3 objects to open a trap door on the ground. You need to find a horseshoe, a wax sculpture, and a lighter. And I guess you light the wax sculpture into the hole on this little trap door and then put the horseshoe in and let it harden, and then you can lift it up. But I'm like, I don't know, is the wax really gonna hold that? But I'll suspend disbelief right now. Further down, more holes. James just enjoys jumping down holes. We find a little puzzle that I wasn't really sure what to do. I just did it over and over until I got it. You just rotate the analog stick and it moves this cube, and apparently it opens a passageway, kind of like this little cubed room that also turns with the cube when you turn it. So on the other side of this door, we actually find Maria, who is still alive, but now behind bars. And she's acting very oddly, which, I mean, is an understatement. Everyone here acts like a fucking weirdo. Even James. But she's like, hey, I'm not Mary, but I know all this stuff Mary knows, and do you remember that special videotape we made in the hotel? And James is like, oh, duh. So now your goal is to kind of like go save Maria, but also get this videotape because, I mean, it sounds like you gotta burn it if anyone gets to see your sex tape, which I assume it's a sex tape. Is this a sex tape? Because this game is gonna get way more interesting. On our way, we go through a literal labyrinth. I don't know where this labyrinth came from. I don't know why it's here, and where's David Bowie? But we find Angela in a room, and there's this creepy monster coming after her, so we kill it, and it takes a couple shots, and that was pretty easy. But then she is going crazy. She's saying weird things and kind of giving away a little bit about herself, which I think her dad didn't treat her very nicely. He probably did bad things to her, and I think she did bad things to him because he did that. So this is why she's here, I think. Just like Eddie, who got made fun of and killed the dog and hurt someone else, I believe she may have killed her father, or killed more people. Who knows? The next puzzle is one I'm not really sure what you're supposed to do. I just kind of looked around and pulled some nooses, which is kind of like this iconic image from the new remake where he's pulling a noose down with a sad face. And in this game, he looks like he's trying to pull it down, and he's like, if I could just loosen this, I could get it all the way around my penis. We finally get back to the room where Mary was at, and she is yet again dead. And it looks like she's been stabbed and also something happened to her face. I don't know. But then after this, we move forward ahead a little bit more because James is just losing his mind at this point. We see Eddie again, and Eddie is pissed. I guess he killed someone else, and he's getting real mad because people are making fun of him. And then he thinks that James is making fun of him because he says, are you nuts? You're killing people because of the way that they're treating you. And he's like, I knew, James, you hate me too. You think I'm a fat, disgusting pig too. And James is like, I didn't fucking say that, bro. And honestly, I don't know why he would challenge someone with a shotgun, but he has a tiny ass little revolver, and I just blow him away. But James is pretty upset. He said, I killed a human being, as if he hasn't killed someone else before. James, is that true? Next, we spend some time rowing a boat through the fog. And at first I'm like, what am I looking for? I forget. And then I find, oh yeah, if you just turn the boat enough, you see this light in the distance and you go towards that. But I was confused, and it took a minute. And so I sat in the boat for a good 5 minutes. We go to the hotel where apparently it's another special place. I mean, he's looking for a videotape they made, which again, I'm pretty sure they were banging. But he meets Laura, and Laura has a letter from Mary herself that addresses Laura. So Mary actually knew Laura. I assume it's probably in the hospital. And she says things in this letter that leads me to believe that that's why she knows her, is in the hospital. She says, I took this from the nurse. So anyway, she's saying these nice things about Laura, and Laura says, oh, hey, I have another letter here for you, which is more important. But oh no, where is it? I lost it. So she just runs, and you've got to chase her, and you got to figure out what the hell's going on. Because at this point, James believes that his wife really is alive because this girl is 8 and she turned 8 recently. So how could this letter possibly say that she knew Laura when she was 8 if it was 3 years ago? Things are getting confusing. The hotel is big and has a lot of rooms and a lot of things to do, but there's nothing too interesting. There is a little puzzle that you have to do by taking some paint thinner and spraying it on marker that's on a photo of a briefcase that has these letters in it that will open the briefcase. That's cool. And then you eventually get to an elevator that says only one person limit. You can't have any more than one person, but James must be really fat, and he's setting off the alarm. So you have to drop everything in your inventory. Everything. Can't leave a single thing in there. I think, except maybe like the photo of Mary, which, you can look at that and get some cool messages or something like that. So you have to give up everything, and then you have to play the game for a little bit with no weapons, no healing, nothing. And there's only a couple spots where there's enemies, and they aren't that tough or anything. I just ran past them. The goal through all these areas is to find these 3 music boxes and put them on this pedestal to get another key to get up to the room where you watch the VHS, where it's not actually a sex tape, which it might still be. It's pretty close. But he finds out that he kills his wife. So close, right? Close. But no, he kills his wife, and nothing else is explained except for that she's sick and that she wants to come back to Silent Hill. And I feel like she wouldn't want to come back here if there were hellish, nightmarish creatures and a pyramid head. So probably not actually the town that he's in right now is the real Silent Hill. So we don't learn anything else right here, but Laura is pissed at him, and I think this is the last time we see Laura, so screw her. This little thing you got near the beginning of the game actually goes off, and finally you can hear a voice, and it sounds like Mary, and she's saying, I'm waiting, where are you, what's going on? So he's like, I guess maybe she still is alive, even though I watched a video of me killing her. We meet up with Angela again, which is always a fun time, and she's surrounded by fire at one point. She's kind of lost her mind. She wasn't Eddie and tried to kill James, so James had to defend himself, but Angela has completely lost her mind. She goes the route of, this is it, there's nothing else, she's never gonna get out, she's walking deeper into the fire, no one can help her, that's it. Eddie got helped to death. Angela just gave up, and James now, out of the three of them who can actually change what's going on, is about to change. Eventually, we get back to a spot where Maria is yet again alive, hanging upside down with 2 pyramid heads. Ooh. And they kill her. I mean, I don't know. At this point, she's died, like 3 times, and I don't know what's going on. So then we fight the 2 pyramid heads, and this is a weird battle. It took me a second to realize what I needed to do. I quit out and then restarted it because I was like, oh, yeah, that's right. So you have to shoot one of them, and they start like marching towards this like just pose that they do, and you can pull these eggs off of their head, 2 eggs, and you put them in these doors, and then you can leave. As we continue to the last boss battle, we get a little bit more info. Mary seems to actually be upset and saying weird things to James. We're not really sure at this point if this is true or if he's just hearing this, and we eventually end up getting to where Mary is. She is in a hospital room, and she's being kind of mean, and James is not happy about this, but he's like, I know who you are, I'm letting you go, blah, blah, blah. So he's starting to figure things out in his own head, and this is how he's going to take care of it. He's going to kill Mary in his head in Silent Hill, which is also in his head, at least this version. The final boss battle is pathetic on beginner. I mean, that's just kind of how it is. Beginner mode is for the story and kind of maybe the ambiance, and if you're scared, but the boss battle takes 2 shotgun blasts, and it's over. After this, we get a little bit more information on their relationship, and we start to find out that she actually was in a lot of pain and he killed her because of that. But he's also upset at her and doesn't like her anymore, so he killed her because of that as well. This is interesting. What a conundrum, right? Like, what is it? Is he good or bad? Well, at the very end, we get a letter, a text crawl that is from Mary, and obviously she's written this so that he will get it after she dies. Again, the context here is a little hard for me to understand. I'm sure someone else could say better than I, but I will tell you what it means to me. She writes this letter. She's clearly in pain, and for the 3 years she was ill, she was not a nice person. I guess she took it out on everyone, and it made James eventually loathe her, and he also helped take care of her, so I can understand like these kind of tough to deal with feelings for James. And in the end, he ends up killing her because, well, we're not really sure. I think she seems to be pretty happy with things and has made this decision. She wants to die. She's in pain. She doesn't want to be alive anymore. And James is probably teetering on the edge of, I hate her because of how she is and having to spend all my years of my life to help her, and she's, taking it out on me. Or is he doing it because she really is in pain, and in the end, he really doesn't want her to be anymore? It's kind of teetering on that edge. It feels more to me like in the end, she accepted everything, that makes sense. At least, I don't know if there's any more endings in this game. I feel like there are, but this ending, it was kind of good. Like, he comes to terms with what happens, and yes, it sucks, but Silent Hill was made in his head as this, they had a special moment. This town was special to them, and now the town is full of hellish things and things I can't understand or describe to you here. So there's a lot going on here, but in the end, it really is just a metaphor. He couldn't handle what had happened and broke down, and as you go through the game, you find that, you can handle it now. Good job. Yay, James did it. And here it is, the end of Silent Hill 2, and this is game number 10. That's right, double digits. And we're not doing any special episode because of double digits. It's going to be double digits for a little while, but the real special episode will be episode 100. But that's a long way away. So episode 10, game 10, we clobbered it with a bat with a nail and shot it with a shotgun and put a key or 2 in it because we have so many. Thank you all for watching this video. On to the guessing game. Here's the guessing game, everyone. Do, 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 do. I like singing that song. I don't know why. But the guessing game is actually the same picture from last time. I'm just going to put it back up because this will be the next game. It was the guy who wanted me to bring the guessing game back guessed it already because he's so freaking smart and knows all the PS2 games. But that's okay. Don't go look at his comment. I mean, go ahead if you'd like. But see if you can guess what the next game will be. And it's going to be a fun one. I love this game, so I'll have a little bit to explain about it. But Silent Hill 2 was a fun game. I don't think, for me, this is just not that. I don't get scared anymore. I don't get scared. I get scared by real world things, and none of these things are real. And if I experience them, I at least have some knowledge about them. You know, zombies, creatures, monsters. At least I have some knowledge of fighting them if for some reason they turn out to be real. But it's so hard for me to believe that ever would be real that when I'm playing the games like this, it's like, I don't know, man. When I was, 13, 14, I was scared of this stuff. But now it's fun, but it's not as interesting. I just can't play the horror games like I used to. It's got a different feel. And if anyone can understand what I mean, maybe it's a horror game. It's a survival horror game. And I played on the easiest difficulty and I beat it very fast. By the way, this only took about like 3.5 hours, 4 hours to beat. It was pretty fucking quick. I know the speed run a little bit and, it's just getting some keys. Really, you just walk up to a door and hit it, and if it doesn't open, go to the next one. So it's not a terribly tough game, but it still is a good game. I remember playing this game with my mom a long time ago. We used to play scary games together. We played Silent Hill 1 and Silent Hill 2, as well as all the Resident Evils. Resident Evil 4. Maybe I'll have her speak about Resident Evil 4 on that video when I do it. That'll be a fun one. The horror games are just hard for me to play, and I have to play them and beat them, so don't worry. This part of the video is just for fun, and if you're still listening, thank you so much. I can't believe you listening to me ramble about random things. But I'll be back with the next video soon. Bye!